Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about anxiety. Anxiety is such a hard emotion to deal with, and I know because I deal with this firsthand. We often talk about anxiety and worry interchangeably. And what I want to really focus on today is the physiological effects of anxiety. So, we all worry from time to time. We all get caught up in that cycle of wondering what's going to happen next and not being able to get thoughts out of our heads. But anxiety is way more of a brain and body connection than worry is. So, when we're in anxiety, we are often getting flooded with stress hormones. Our cortisol and adrenaline are pumping, which means our heart rate and our breathing rate goes up, which sends signals to the brain to say that we should be panicking. So, we then start to constantly scan our environment for danger in any way we can find. This is why anxiety often doesn't make a lot of sense, or why people might say to us at times, well, just stop worrying. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But anxiety is a lot deeper than that. So anxiety doesn't always make sense. In fact, often doesn't make sense. And when we have anxiety at night, what often happens is that as our cortisol levels are lowering, our body will pump that up again so that we start to get that flood of hormones saying we should be reacting in some way, which is often why people have anxiety waking up in the middle of the night or panic attacks in that way. Now, anxiety can be a real bully that starts to live in your life in a lot of ways because it also gives you the illusion that you're safe in some way, and that if somehow you start going out and searching in the world for other things to be anxious and worried about, that you will be able to keep yourself safe in some way. So we spend a lot of time then wondering about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week. There's a checking and double checking that happens within this anxiety process that also really programs our body to start reacting in that way. Most of us feel incredibly shameful about anxiety as well, because it seems like it should be something that we could turn off or stop thinking about, but it just doesn't work that way. A radical idea that I've played with at times is how we can make anxiety our friend. And if not our friend, at least not a bully. So how can we see anxiety as an early warning sign that something is a little bit out of balance, or that we need to change our perspective on something? That it's actually giving us a lot of information to make it so that we can feel safe again. We're often not giving ourselves permission to be sad or anxious or angry. And sometimes anxiety comes because we're pushing those more difficult emotions away instead of also using those emotions as information that can tell us where things might be slightly out of balance in our lives. So we can't necessarily change our anxiety, but we can start to get curious about it and change our relationship with it so that we can see it as an ally rather than a bully. Now, that is much, much easier said than done. As a person who lives with anxiety, many times it does take over. But as we practice more and more, we can start to see those patterns of when we start to worry and get anxious about things that haven't even happened yet, and how that might be helping us along our path rather than hurting, as long as we don't let it run rampant. I hope you found this helpful. I would love it if you would comment and subscribe to our channel. I also have a trauma recovery method course and a meditation through the senses course that I would love to have you join me for. And all the links for that are in the description below. Thanks and have a beautiful day.